McLaren's 2026 car has a problem so serious that the FIA never meant for this data to go public. Leaked performance numbers show massive drops in efficiency exactly where the new rules matter most, and if this is accurate, McLaren could start 2026 already beaten. While rival teams quietly celebrate, engineers inside Woking are scrambling to fix something that might be baked into the car's DNA, and the silence from McLaren is louder than ever. If you want the real story behind Formula One's biggest leaks before they explode across the paddock, subscribe to the channel right now, because what comes next could change the entire grid. The Formula One paddock woke up to a storm it wasn't prepared for. Buried in a set of technical reports quietly released by the FIA and quickly circulated among rival teams was a disturbing revelation. McLaren's 2026 power unit simulations showed a massive drop in sustained hybrid output across key deployment zones. The very architecture they had spent 2 years refining now appears misaligned with the final technical directives ratified for the new regulatory cycle. And the consequences could be devastating. The most alarming number relates to electrical deployment under acceleration. According to leaked FIA telemetry, McLaren's projected energy release between corner exit and DRS activation is significantly lower than the baseline models provided by the governing body. In simple terms, their power delivery curve is flatlining right when other cars will surge forward, a death sentence under the 2026 rules, which reward electric boost precision and battery efficiency more than ever before. What makes this even more dangerous is the nature of the leak itself. This wasn't speculation from rival media or guesswork from YouTube analysts. This was internal FIA data logged, verified, and formatted for compliance review, showing clear disparities in expected versus simulated performance. The FIA didn't point fingers, but the files referenced Woking-based development tags and aerodynamic profiles unmistakably linked to McLaren's wind tunnel work. The evidence is not just damning. It's irrefutable. And here's where it gets worse. The 2026 regulations are built around energy balance. Teams must harvest, store, and deploy electrical power with unprecedented accuracy. Any misstep in cooling efficiency, inverter tuning, or ERS software logic throws off that entire balance. Based on the leaked files, McLaren may be operating with a system that cannot maintain energy flow without overheating or underdelivering, especially in extended high-speed zones like Spa, Monza, or Jeddah. Behind closed doors, rival teams are already adapting. Engineers at Red Bull and Ferrari reportedly adjusted their own simulation assumptions after reviewing the leaked data, not just to avoid McLaren's mistake, but to exploit it. If these teams can optimize their energy release and aero trim around the flaw McLaren exposed, they could lock in a structural advantage before the first preseason test. In Formula One, timing is everything, and right now, McLaren looks out of sync. There's also the psychological blow to consider. McLaren entered this regulation cycle as one of the most aggressive innovators on the grid. After podiums and massive gains in 2024 and 2025, they were tipped as dark horses for the 2026 title. But now, the narrative has flipped. Instead of leading the pack, they may be chasing reliability fixes and software patches while their rivals push performance upgrades. That shift doesn't just affect engineers, it affects drivers, sponsors, and strategic partners watching from the sidelines. And so, a leak that was supposed to remain locked inside the FIA's technical vault has now ignited one of the biggest preseason crises in recent McLaren history. The numbers are out. The pressure is on. And unless something changes fast, McLaren could begin 2026 not with a roar, but with a technical whimper. Inside the walls of McLaren's technology center in Woking, the mood has shifted dramatically. What was once a confident race against time to perfect their 2026 challenger has now turned into a race to salvage it. The leaked FIA documents didn't just reveal a performance issue, they exposed a fundamental flaw in McLaren's 2026 development philosophy. The very DNA of the car, designed around a new aeroelectric integration model, now appears structurally compromised. The problem lies in how McLaren interpreted the early 2026 regulations. Their design team opted for a high-risk, high-reward approach by compressing the rear packaging to reduce drag and increase airflow to the rear wing, essential for active aero efficiency. But in doing so, they created a cooling bottleneck that's now limiting the electric deployment system's stability. According to the FIA's analysis, this bottleneck leads to thermal saturation during prolonged acceleration, causing the energy recovery system to shut down early. That's not just a minor glitch. Under the new rules, which demand a minimum electric deployment per lap and reward teams that manage clean energy flow, an unstable system could lead to lap time losses of over 0.6 even before DRS is opened. In qualifying trim, that's catastrophic. In race conditions, it's even worse. Without consistent deployment, overtaking becomes almost impossible, and defending turns into a liability. Essentially, McLaren could be racing with one arm tied behind their back. The internal consequences have been swift. Multiple departments from power unit calibration to aero simulation have been pulled into emergency review cycles. Test bench protocols have been rewritten. Rumors suggest the team has halted production of key carbon fiber assemblies to allow for a redesign of the rear cooling layout. And while no one at McLaren has spoken publicly, several insiders admit that this issue has pushed the team into a full technical stand-down just months before the car is due to hit the track. The pressure is being felt across the leadership. Team principal Andrea Stella, who led the technical renaissance of the past 2 years, now finds himself managing a crisis of credibility. Zak Brown, meanwhile, is under renewed scrutiny from shareholders and sponsors, many of whom had already begun investing in McLaren's 2026 trajectory. For a team that was seen as a model of transparency and progress, this data breach threatens their standing not just in performance, but in reputation. Even worse is the uncertainty surrounding the fix. Cooling systems and energy deployment hardware are not modular components you can simply swap out. They're integrated into the chassis design from day one. Solving the overheating issue may require a full reconfiguration of the car's rear architecture, something that would eat into crash testing schedules, delay wind tunnel validation, and possibly force compromises in aerodynamic performance. Every fix opens another problem. This is where the reality sets in. McLaren might not be able to fix this before the season starts. And if they do, it could come at the cost of other development targets. In the ruthless ecosystem of Formula One, momentum is everything. And McLaren, once positioned to lead the next generation of regulation, now finds itself desperately trying to stay afloat before the lights even go out in Bahrain. While McLaren quietly handles the fallout, rival teams have gone into overdrive. At Milton Keynes, Maranello, and Brackley, technical directors and data analysts are dissecting the leaked FIA report line by line. For Red Bull and Mercedes, it's an opportunity not just to stay ahead, but to exploit McLaren's vulnerability before it can be corrected. And in a sport where the first test session can define your championship trajectory, that opportunity is golden. Ferrari, for instance, had originally considered a similar rear-end packaging strategy. But internal wind tunnel data showed rising temperatures in their energy recovery unit during prolonged corner exit phases. Learning from past cooling disasters, especially during the turbo-hybrid era, Ferrari engineers opted for a wider side pod structure to house enhanced thermal management systems. At the time, the choice was considered conservative. Now, it looks visionary. Red Bull, unsurprisingly, had already integrated a dynamic cooling solution using variable intake geometry and real-time sensor feedback for battery protection. Sources inside the team suggest that Adrian Newey's design office anticipated this bottleneck as early as late 2024, prompting the integration of auxiliary airflow channels. Not only does this give them more reliable electric deployment, but it allows their active aero components to operate at full efficiency, a clear competitive advantage under the new rule set. Even Mercedes, who have struggled in recent seasons, appear to be in a better position than expected. Their latest power unit iteration focuses heavily on cooling loop segmentation, which isolates heat-generating modules and prevents system-wide energy loss. While their chassis still needs refinement, this thermal isolation gives them flexibility, something McLaren currently lacks. In essence, Mercedes may have traded peak downforce for consistent deployment. In 2026, that may prove to be the smarter gamble. Meanwhile, smaller teams like Aston Martin and Alpine are using McLaren's crisis as a benchmark. They now know what not to do. Both squads have adjusted their development targets accordingly, prioritizing system stability and energy recovery performance rather than raw aerodynamic gains. It's a silent arms race, not just to build faster cars, but to avoid stepping into the same trap McLaren did. In a season built on balance, being too aggressive can cost more than being cautious. In the simulator world, data engineers are adjusting their models to simulate racing scenarios against a compromised McLaren. This isn't petty gamesmanship, it's strategic warfare. Knowing that McLaren may suffer in deployment zones, teams are reconfiguring their attack plans to strike where it hurts most: high-speed exits, long straights, and second-phase braking zones where ERS can make or break a pass. If McLaren enters the season wounded, the grid will not show mercy. And that's the harsh reality of Formula One's technical theater. There are no safety nets, no grace periods. When one team stumbles, especially a high-profile one, the others do not wait. They pounce. McLaren's engineering decisions, once hailed as bold and forward-thinking, are now being picked apart, analyzed, and used as cautionary tales. The 2026 season hasn't even started, but already, the chessboard is shifting and McLaren is on the defensive.